Welcome to the fastest daf in town, today on Masechtas Kiddushin daf Nun Gimel. We're going to begin on the very bottom of Nun Beis Amud Beis. I'm Rav Yochanan, focusing on Rav Yochanan's name. As we continue to Nun Gimel with Aleph, Nimnu the Gomru. So they calculated to decide what everyone holds, and they ended up concluding Hamakadosh Bechelko ben Kodshi Kedoshim ben Kedoshim Kalim Lo Kiddush. That if a person would be giving a woman, a Kiddushin, with using either Kedoshim Kodshim, like a Chatas, part of the Chatas, which the Kohen can get, or Kedoshim Kalim, such as, for example, a Shlomim, it doesn't work. Rabbi Omer Adayin Hi Machlokes. He says no. They actually didn't reach any conclusion, and V'lo Chazbo Rabbi Yehuda, says Rashi. So Omer by Kavas Rav Yochanan Mistabra. It's going to be more logical, like the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, that in fact everyone agrees that it does not work. The Sanya. Menayin shein cholkin menachlis keneged tzvachim. This is a Gemara, a lengthy Gemara over here, found in Menachlis almost verbatim. How do we know that a person cannot divide a mincha opposite a zevach, a carbon? So this has to do with a bartering system. You cannot do a bartering system. Says Rashi, lefi damim, according to its value. You can't do that. Loimer toyalato mincha v'ani chaz v'shoik or basar chatas v'yasham. Talmud v'chol mincha asher te'afeh b'tanur. So this pasuk says Rashi, mashma shemincha atzma yachliku kol b'nei Aharon. Everyone gets some of the mincha, and not that it's supposed to be swapped. And then the pasuk says, "Chol b'nei Aharon tihiyeh." So Yachol, you would think, lo yechalku menachas keneged zvachim. I can understand maybe not a mincha to a zevach, shul komu tachtehim badalis, because there's nothing under it for someone who is poor. In other words, when it comes to a dal, they give a poor bird offering, but flour offering. Not a flour offering by Yored, the din of oil be Yored. So when it comes to karbanos, there's a din of a dalus, but it doesn't work by a mincha. Says Rashi, Dechsiv b'metami mikdash m'shmis koil v'imo sasig yadav. You can't afford it l'shtei tayrim, then v'hevi yes karbanoi asher chata asir so eifa. So you can't, instead of a bird, instead of an animal, they would bring a flower offering, but they would give a bird offering instead of a flower offering. So maybe it would work when it comes to swapping a bird with flour. Anything was put into this pan. So they're really separate things. One is a carbon, one is blood, and the other one is flour. Maybe birds connected carbonis. They're both blood. Says Rashi, so if you don't, it's considered an Indian, so then you will apply it to this. So because when it comes to the shchit, that's bekli. When it comes to a bird, it's with malika, with your yad. Maybe you can swap one mincha, I'm not sure why you would do it, from one flour offering to another flour offering. So this is again a reboy in the pasuk to say that you cannot do this either. So there's two different pans, like we say, Hashem Shabbos Habenim Abbas, L'kel Yorotzu Kimincha al Machvas, on a machvas, which means it is a thin pan because it's on it, as opposed to Bim Marcheshes, which is a thicker pan. That's why it's in it. So there are two different types of kalim, which have different cooking mechanisms. Shizuma seim rakim v'zumasim kashim. That one, again, because of its cooking, will have different effects on the food. You should maybe use this. You can barter a mincha for another mincha using the exact same kli to have it cooked. After all, shalom v'lo masim kashim ina masim rakim. Talmud learn. That's why the pasuk says b'chariva, a dry mincha l'chol b'nei aron tiyeh. Again, these are all ribuyim. So yachlu b'kodesh hakadoshim. You would think maybe this is all regarding karbanos, which are on the highest level, kodesh kadashim. Av yachlu b'kadashim kalim, but maybe you could barter and switch one kadashim kalim. Talmud learner ish ke'achiv v'samach le imal toida. Kashem shen chalkim b'kadashim kadashim kachin chalkim b'kadashim kalim. So a toida is an example of a kadashim kalim, and it was written in proximity to the other pasuk. So just like kadashim kadashim, no. However, when it comes to kadashim kalim, after all, says Rashi, Isilhu zachi b'gavayhu yochel limchor chelkoi b'karban zeh b'shul zeh. So maybe you should be able to do this. No. Okay. Ish chaylek. It says ish chaylek. Each person divides. Afil balmum, even if the person is a balmum. And hakatan chaylek mafil tam. But katan doesn't divide up these karbanos, even if he is a tam. Stam sifra mani Rabbi Hudi. Now this is usually, this lengthy statement was a sifra, and a sifra is generally, the author is generally Rabbi Huda. Fahu Kaimer, and he said, the leisba din chaluka klal, that Kohanim have no ability to divide it up at all. Shma mina, so in fact it is a raya. So what exactly is the raya? The raya clearly is that when it comes to, says Rashi, Shamini Mina, it's not your money. El Mashulchan Gavah Kazach. And therefore, you cannot be Mekadosh and Isha, even with Kadoshim Kalim. I guess this is the question. Mehechen have you b'gemar rayad l'Rab Yochanan emer chazer bo Rabbi Yehuda v'svir leham makdish b'chelko enu mekadeshas. So the answer is, I don't think you have to quote the entire thing. It's pretty long, but this is what it says. Let's see how he writes it. Stam sefer Rabbi Yehuda v'tanya the ein din chaluk b'kadashim klal shemamina b'shulchan gavol kazach b'lav b'moinahu. Okay, so that's Nun TB 21. TB 21, in which this Rashi was helpful. Let's find it again. Sifra Taris Kohanim v'hava Taris Kohanim Isa Alma Leisle Din Shar Chalukais Beilu Damim V'Shamei Namada Lama Maynahu El Mashulchan Gavoya Kazachu. So that is the raya. So let's just find this up top. Stam Sifra Mani Rabbi Huda V'hu Ka'imr Deleisba Din Chaluka Klal Shmamina. Okay, that was TB 21. All right. So almost the entire Amud, so it makes sense that we asked the Kasha on it. Okay. Amarava Ukarav Milotanya. Like Rav, do we not learn Vasanya Hasanuin? Those who are modest, Moishchen. They used to withdraw their hands from taking. Garganim chalkim, but the people who are garganim would take and switch it up. Says Rashi, Gabi lechem upanim. When it came to the showbreads, Tanya arboim shana shishim Shimon Tzadik. For the 40 years that Shimon Tzadik served as the Kohen Gadol, nishtalcha bracha b'lechem upanim, v'chol kohen hamigia kazayis yesh oichel v'saveya, yesh oichel moiser. So there was this great blessing that a person could eat and be satiated. After Shimon Tzadik, nishtalcha me'ora b'lechem upon him. There was like a curse on the breads. The kol koyin hamagia kafel, and everyone would get a bean size. Hatsenua moishlim yadehim, they would remove their hands from it. Do mahani l'humi doesn't help anyway. So like you're not going to be satiated by it anyway. So if you're like, no, I might as well walk away. However, garganim cholkin, they would divide it up. Now, what does that mean? So our hamamin is cholkin derech iway meniach chelka l'chaver v'naitel kenegdu makam acher. Isu din chaluka. Well, we see that there is din chaluka when it comes to karbanos. No. So, and for the Gemara, my cholkin chaytvin. It doesn't mean that they divide among them. It means just they would grab it for themselves. He grabbed his and his friends. That's what he was called until his day of death. Not that he took it and they made a trade. No, because you're not allowed to do that. But what did they do? They took for themselves and they took others. Mikra. What's the pasuk that a chamsin is a lashon of chamson? How do we know that the chamson lashon chamson? Because there's a tzadi or a samach. So in this, based on the following pasuk, Elokai palteni miad rasha, Hashem save me from the hand of the wicked, mikaf avel, from the palm of the iniquities. Then it says v'chaymetz in the thief. Says Rashi, Hechziku yad hanigzol hatzil miyad oishkoi. Rabbi Imra Hacha, limdo heitev, learn much. Dear Shemishpat, seek justice. Ashu chamoitz, support one who was stolen from. So again, we can maybe see this language is found in these various psukim. Okay. Meiser Sheni. So now we're going to understand the machlokas in our Mishnah. When it came to Meiser Sheni, and here's 1, 2, 4, and 5, Meiser Sheni is brought to Yerushalayim. So the question is, can you be mekadosh a woman with it? So Ben B'Shayim Ben B'Meis a little Kiddush to Rameir. Rameir says no, because Meiser Sheni is considered to be Mammon Gavoa, and therefore you cannot be mekadosh a woman with it. B'Shag or B'Meizid. Rabbi Huda gives a different sheet though. Rabbi Huda Omer B'Shag Gil Kiddush Meizid Kiddush. He says that Meizid does work because it's considered to be yours. Then why does he say shag it doesn't work? We'll have to understand this. So mina hani mili. How do we know that according to Rav Meir, he holds that that Meiser Sheni is considered to be Mamoin Gavoa? So Omer Rav Achabar read the Rabbi Mishmei the Gemara, because the pasuk says V'chol Maser Haaretz Mizer Haaretz, any of the 10th of the earth from the Zer Haaretz Mipriya Eitz, that's from the fruit of the tree. LaHashem hu kadosh. So it says hu, and it says the word kodesh. So what do we darshan from here? First of all, it says LaHashem. LaHashem hu v'lo kadosh bo isha. That it's only supposed to be designated for Hashem, which is coming to exclude not to be mekadosh an isha with it. And therefore, that's why Rameir says that you cannot be mekadosh an isha, bein b'shem ben mezid, with Meiser Sheni. So back to Gemara, when it comes to Trumas Meiser, it says Kain Trimu Gamatim Trumas Hashem. It says Trumas Hashem also, which means you can make the drasha Hashem hu v'loy l'kadosh v'isha. L'tana b'kadosh b'trumam kadeshas. If you're mekadosh a woman with trum, Rashi says b'trumos, it's a good Kiddushin. The answer is yeah. The look sibbe Hashem. It just says Hashem. It doesn't say le Hashem. It says la Hashem when it comes to challah. So therefore, you tell me so by challah you can't be mekadosh nish with challah. But tanana mekadosh betrumos mekadeshas. Trumos includes challah. Now the luksi be kodesh, even though it says la Hashem, but it doesn't say kodesh. In our pasuk, when it's referring to Meiser Sheni, it says la Hashem and it says kodesh. V'hari shvius dechsib ba yovel hi kodesh. When it comes to Shemitah also, the produce also it says the word Kodesh. So therefore, L'chaira, according to your logic, you should not be able to mekadosh a woman with Mei Peres. To not mekadosh beperes shvius mekadeshas. It is a good Kiddushin. Okay, but the looks of Bei LaHashem. It doesn't say LaHashem, so you apparently need to have both, LaHashem and Kodesh. Bahari Truma, when it comes to Truma Gedoyla, giving the 2% to the Kohen, Dechsiv, Kodesh Yisrael LaHashem, Reishis Tivuaso. It says LaHashem. V'tanan HaMakadosh B'Truma, or B'Truma, Yis Mekadeshas. So the answer is, Hahu B'Yisrael Ksiv, says Rashi. Hahu B'Yisrael Ksiv, the people are Kodesh LaHashem. V'hem Kruim Kodesh Hashem. It's not referring to the Truma Gedoyla, it's referring to the people are Kodesh. That's what it's referring to. So again, all these things you can Mekadosh Nisha with it, but kind of Rameir holds not by Meiser Sheni. As we continue to Nun Gimel Amud Beis. But can't we just derive this logically, Mamela? In other words, says Rashi, Bidmia, Menachsiv Kodesh Yisrael Hashem Reishis Tavasai Katruma Haim Lo Shema Mina Truma Nami Habi Kodesh Hashem. So it still should be Kodesh. So what's the difference? So but obviously that's not the reason why Meiser Sheni L'chor shouldn't be an issue, just like everything else. So Tigger Rabin Sabakamidu Rab Amrkra Hu Bavyaso Yehe, that it remains in its original status. So in other words, the key is not necessarily in the pasuk where it says Lashem or Kodesh, it says Lashem Hu Kodesh. So therefore it's saying that it remains Kodesh, namely that it's Mum and Gavoa, and it cannot be used for anything else. Okay. So that's Rav Meir. Uve Hekdesh b'mezid Kiddush b'shaglo Kiddush de Rav Meir. Rabbi Huda b'shagin Kiddush b'mezid lo Kiddush. So when it comes to Hekdesh, so b'mezid Rav Meir for some reason says you can be Mekadosh woman if you use Kiddush to be Makdash woman, but not b'shagin. Rabbi Yehuda says b'shagin it does work. Why? Why b'shogeg can you be Mekadosh with it? Because since Me'ila only applies when it's done b'shogeg, so it is there's you're a machalel, there's a cholol, you're a mischalel, and therefore the Kiddushin works. Notice you profaned this money by using it. So since you're over Me'ila, according to Yehuda, so b'shogeg you're kaid, it's Kiddush, b'mezid lo Kiddush, because b'mezid there's no din Me'ila. Din Me'ila is only b'shogeg. So therefore, it remains Kodesh, and therefore, if you're Mekadosh an Isha with it, it still it remains Kodesh. We say it's not Meschalel, and therefore, you can't be Mekadosh an Isha with it. Rabbi Yaakov, Shema Mino de Rabbi Yochanan Tarti. I heard from Rabbi Yochanan two things. First of all, I learned Shkogus Meiser Rabbi Yehuda. I learned when it came to the din of Shkogus Meiser Sheni, that was used b'shogeg according to Rabbi Yehuda, and which, as we said before on the previous daf, that when it comes to Shkogus Meiser Sheni, according to the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda, he said Shogeg lo Kiddush, that you cannot be Mekadosh an Isha with it. Okay, which is hard to understand because if you hold it's your money, then l'chor you should be Shogeg work. But he says no. And Shkogus Hakdish to Rav Meir. And when it came to Shkogus Hakdish, Rav Meir says Kiddush b'Shogeg lo Kiddush. So both of these cases is not Kiddush, either Shkogus Meiser or Shkogus Hektish. But one's Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir. Shneim ein isha miskadeshes behen. In both these cases, a woman cannot get married. Chad levish ein isha roitza. One is because a woman doesn't want. But chad levish ein shneim roitzim, because both of them do not want. V'lo yadana, and I don't know heminayu who said what. And this is a Gemara which is found in a couple other places, including in Sukkah by a Chaytet Begadish, by Tassel Manasai. So I'm Rabbi Yirmiyah Nechzianan. It's the same lashon. Let's analyze which one is referring to each. Meiser, when we're dealing with Meiser Sheni, this produce brought to Yerushalayim, Ihi or Nichala, she doesn't want it. She doesn't want to take this fruit. Mishum Tircha de Orcha, because there's a Tircha now. It says Rashi, Latzricha Halois Yerushalayim. She doesn't want me to get married with these fruits. So even though technically you should be able to do it, but she doesn't want to be married in this way because she'll have to take this fruit now and go to Yerushalayim with it. She doesn't want to do that. Ihu nichale, but you, the man, you are happy. You ended up getting married. So maybe that's the whole idea. For the man, it's good, but it's not good for the woman. So maybe Meiser Sheni, that's what it's referring to. El hektish tervayu nichalhu. When it comes to hektish, they both don't want it to work. The nitchil hektish al yadayu. That because what's going to happen is hektish is going to become nitchal mischalel. It's going to become profane because of both of you. So therefore, you both don't want it. So therefore, that must be the shot. So Rabbi Yaakov, no, ifchel mistabra. It's not necessarily that's the case. Milo ika lamemer. Can you not say meiser ihi l'nichale mishum tircha de'orcha? Okay, got that. When it comes to meiser sheni, she's not going to want it because it's tircha de'orcha. She doesn't want to have to travel. However, maybe he doesn't want it either. Ihu lo nichale mishum unsa de'orcha. Maybe he's concerned about an oinus on the road. Says Rashi. Del karchach unsa de'orcha alei ramya. Any circumstance, any accident, bandits come and take it away, it's on him. It'll be on him, the responsibility. Shamaiser ein bo kan shava pruta. Right now, in New York, Meiser Sheni is worthless because you can't eat it. You can't do anything with it. It has to be brought to Yerushalayim. So therefore, because of that, since it has to be brought to Yerushalayim, so therefore makes sense while it's in transit, right? FOB shipping point, it's necessary that a person will be chai b'achrayas, and it'll be his achrayas. If nothing happens. Shafil timchorenu domov. If we would sell it, nispasin b'kedushaso v'kidsheha srichin shehu shavapruta. Again, it has to at least be worth something. So therefore, it's a problem. And says Rashi, the shchiach deisnasu tfei gabi isas amagavra. And this is the reality. A woman is vulnerable to attack. So a woman is more vulnerable to be attacked on the road than the man. So therefore, because of that, it makes sense that she has a good chance she may get lost and be on the hunt on this man. Inami says Rashi rami achrayis alei lo nichle del litnis mina penti atse v'tomer lo kidashtani b'davar shlo nehanesi boy. That she'll end up being sad that you're a mekadosh me do something that really has no benefit. Okay, so therefore, Meiser Sheni, okay, fine, it's definitely tirch for her. She doesn't want it, but he also may not want it because of unsa de orcha. El hakdish mishalmi hi. I understand that she doesn't want it. Dinitchil hakdish al yada, because again, she's causing something to lose its sanctity. El ihu milo nichale dinikne isasam. You can say the same as far as before. That his whole intention now, it's good because now he'll be able to marry her based on this. Okay, let's look at a couple questions. Question 7. Hamakdish b'maiser b'shaygeg Rabbi Yehuda ein b'kedeshes. Him shaygeg dida or didei kaimer. What are we talking about? His shaygeg or is he referring to her shaygeg? So b'shaygeg dida. If we're dealing with his shaygeg, so of course it's not going to work. So then it's a machlokas. Okay. Question 8. My time of Rameir the mekadosh behektish b'shageg and b'kedeshas. Why doesn't it work? Either because they both don't want it, right? Mishum do nichale de nachal hektish al yadahu ramayri bekasainis kahuna shalom bolu l'chatchil nitnuli hanus behen shaygeg. We're talking about garments that are worn out. L'chatchil you should not use a hana from them b'shaygeg. Okay, I guess we'll have to see that hopefully soon. Okay, weiter. Okay. So Rabbi asks a question. Isha in miskadeshes. So we say a woman, it's not a good Kiddushin. Okay, when we're talking about Meiser Sheni b'shaygeg or Hektish b'shaygeg, according to these different sheets. So the question is, Ma'ois mahu sheitzel chulin. What happens to the money? Does it go to chulin? So Armalei Isha miskadeshes mos hech yatzul chulin. What do you mean? The only reason why it would go to chulin is if it actually accomplished something. But if it didn't accomplish anything, it retains its original status, and therefore it does not go to chulin. Says Rashi, Isha hadi amrina in b'kedeshes b'shkogas hektash rameir most mal sheyatzol chulin lehanus behen ata now v'sei yischai behen carbon meila. So he says, of course not. It didn't leave Rishos hektish. Okay. Ba'amina Rav Chia bar Avin Rav Chisna b'mecher mai, says Rashi. What does it mean with a sale? Lokach hachefetz, you purchased an item. That's not a Kiddushin. You purchased an item. B'mois hektish, and you use the money of hektish. B'shaygeg. L'rameir. According to Rameir, kana ulo kana. So again, according to Rameir, when it comes to the dinim of hektish, he says, kiddush b'shaygeg is lo kiddush. Now is that also, it would be lo kana? So what is the answer? So Amalei af b'mecher lo kana. Also will not work, says Rashi. The money doesn't go to chulin. Ein me'ila rameir bekdeishois. There's no din me'ila. Ella b'oichel oichle hektish. Only comes to the oichel of hektish. Of hamoitzi mois hektish. Ein lo me'il b'chol makom shehein. Shom hektish alehem. Ayin, the top of Daf Nun Dalid Amud Beis, to understand this a little bit better. Okay. Esvei. Chenveni Kabal Habayis. Devar Meir. The Chenveni, this is a Mishnah Masatis. Me'il Rashi says a gizbor. You have a treasure. Hamafkin Mois Eitzel Shulchani. And he left money by the Shulchani, the money changer. So it says Rashi. Im Sarurin, if the money was wrapped up, he's not allowed to use it, because the fact that it was wrapped up was saying don't use it. Therefore, if he does use it, so the gizbor will not be moil, but the shulchani was, because he wasn't supposed to use it. The fact that he used it, he was in the wrong. However, im mutarim, says Rashi, let's say the money was untied, yishtamish behen, it could be used. Lefikach im hoitzi moil hagizbor, dereshus ha'ayvar, avad. Demnei diyada de shulchani sarchel mois tader. So when it comes to the shulchani, and it was untied, so then in that situation, it's clear that he knew that this is what was going to be taking place, and therefore, for that reason, the gizbor will be moil, says Rashi. Aval bal habayis, when it comes to a bal habayis, that's a shulchani, because that's his business of changing monies. But a bal habayis, whether it's tied or not tied, you have no right to use it. It wasn't given to as a safekeeping, some type of guarding this money, so that you could use it. The stam bal habayis in mishtamish tamid b'mois. Lefikach im hoitzi moil bal habayis v'lo hagizmor hafkidoi. Therefore, the bal habayis will be the one who is moil, regardless. Okay. So on this, the Gemara says as follows. Let's get back to where we were. Isve chenveni kabal habayis. The store. What's the din of a chenveni? So we talked about a shulchani. A shulchani is someone who's this person that he does this money specifically, that's his job, is a money exchanger. So therefore it's untied, there's a difference between tied and untied. When it comes to a bal habayis, there is no difference between tied or untied. How about a chenveni, the store owner? It has the same deal as a bal habayis. As Rashi saying, Sarach Tamid L'mois, and therefore you're not supposed to be using this money. Okay. So therefore he's like a bal habayis. He has the same deal as a shulchani, and therefore that's a chiluk whether it's tied or untied. Ad kan lo kam mifli el the marsav chenveni kishulchani marsav chenveni kabal habayis. This is a machlokas. What is this middle ground status of this chenveni? Of the kol yalma im hoitzi moil, but they all are saying that if you would use this money, it would be din me'ila. So what are you talking about? How could you tell me that there's no din me'ila? So Rameir devar Rabbi Huda Karmel. Didi im hoitzi nam moil. According to Rameir, he says you will not be moil because you didn't do anything. El didach oideli mia. At least agree the chenveni kabal habayis v'yamalei lo kishulchani ad kan. Let's actually maybe see one more question before we just say ad kan. But that's what we're going to get up to. Okay. Fine. There's no more questions on the regular questions. TA 20 possibly. Hamakdish b'maiser sheni or Behuda Omer b'shaglo kiddush umavor b'gemar mishum dolay nichale madul nichale leisha. So he said it's definitely not good for the woman because nun gimel beis it's tircha. It's tircha. What's the language? Tircha deorcha. So since there's a tircha deorcha, it's not good for the woman. TA 20, and it says madul nichale leisha madul nichale lebal. So the reason why it's not good is because of unsa de orcha, as we said. Because of unsa de orcha, so there's unsa de orcha, which is, again, another important detail. All right, TA 20, and that's the second reason. Okay. Rabbi, we didn't do TB 22. Kasainis kahuna shulbolu adkan.